Boar talks. What do we love? Zombies.
Who loves zombies?
Everybody loves zombies. Everybody loves to hate zombies.
Zombies. We've already covered using a bow as an effective weapon against zombies, and we came with the conclusion: small recurve, 55-pounder, mid-weight would be fine.
Yeah.
I think we should start with some sort of semblance of order with this. Obviously, there's lots of different types of melee weapons.
Okay, so let's start with something we both use on a regular basis, which is swords. We both do Hikima. So I do longsword and you do backsword.
I do backsword, yeah.
Which is just a single-handed with a basket hilt.
For those who didn't
know. Some might not know.
That's true. Yes, swords.
Would you take a sword?
No. No. For those of you who are fairly inexperienced when it comes to using steel swords, they're actually a bit of a nightmare to maintain. They rust. You need to keep them sharp. You need to keep them dry. You need to keep them oiled.
That's a whole lot of maintenance.
That's a huge amount of maintenance. And if you are going up against something that is kind of a bit gooey, like a zombie,
yeah,
you are not going to want something really quite sharp like that. I think, especially with a long sword, a lot of the cuts are little snaps or draw cuts that will do a huge amount of trauma, and a lot to a living person. It'd be a lot of blood loss. I don't think a zombie's going to care.
A zombie might not care that you chopped off his arm, or split his hands open, or any number of things. What he doesn't like is being hit in the noggin really hard.
Which is, you could easily do that with a longsword,
and
it would be terrifying.
You could crack his skull open. But then you got the issue of thin steel blade on bone.
Yes, and swords quite often were reported to, they would break. And in a battle, a sword was considered, once you got you through the battle, you'd either go get it repaired, or you would literally just replace it. And
they're consumables.
They are.
Use them up. Same as you used the oil filter on your car. You replace that.
Yeah.
Because it serves a purpose and you need to redo it.
Thrusts would probably be a different sort of...
Then you got the issue of, do you go too far with your thrust?
But you'd be aiming for the face, surely.
Yeah, once you get up in there, you're right up in his face. You don't want
his grill.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
We're not going to go swords. What are we going to go? Axes?
Well, axes would be another logical step. Both very fond of axes. Which type of axe?
Well, do you go a forestry axe, a hatchet, a tomahawk, a great axe, a Dane axe? Who knows? A pole axe? What kind of axe are we talking?
Personally, your average wood-cutting, logging axe was out of the question. Too heavy. Yes, it could cause big trauma, but too heavy. A Dane axe, I reckon.
I like it.
That's a good contender.
You could do a lot of damage with a Dane axe.
You can actually move them around quite quickly, and the blades, although are quite thin, you could hook with a Dane axe, which would be a very useful thing against.
Yeah, you use it as a climbing tool, hook it overside.
Yeah. The trauma is immense.
They do a lot of damage.
If you were to hit someone in the dome with a Dane axe, well, game over.
Yeah, they're not going to like that.
Yeah.
They're not going to like that at all.
It would be a lot easier to maintain. I guess that's along the same sort of lines as a pole axe. They're a bit heavier, probably.
A pole axe is heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I like about a Dane axe? Should the handle break because you've smashed too many zombie melons, you can replace that handle because it's just working.
You can just use the big stick, really, if you get the bark off and polish it. Yeah, you could. Easier to fix.
Yeah. So axes look good.
Well, apart from the hand axe, we've not mentioned those.
Well, I like them. They're quick. You can use it as an entry weapon. You can use it to hook stuff. Only downside, how close you are.
True, but as a secondary weapon.
As a secondary weapon, I would have no doubt. I would think, yes, secondary weapon. Love that.
Axes.
Yeah.
Way forward.
But it's not going to be your primary.
No.
So what's going to be your first protocol is your spear?
Spears are really quite effective. If someone is using a spear effectively against you, they are jabbing away with the point at you.
Yeah, they're just moving it around.
Because the tiny bit of motion you do at the back of a spear, the tip of the spear moves like 3 or 4 times as quick. Because you do this, but the top of the spear goes from your feet to your face in about a second. It's really quite quick, and you've obviously got a lot of reach. A spear would be really quite effective, but it's the same problem with all spears. Once they're past the sharp bit,
what do you do with it? Well, then
what do you do with it?
Then you've got a long club thing.
Yes, a spear. Would you have one?
I like it, but do I like it enough to take it? It's the only thing. Take it in a building. Is it as effective?
I'd say more so because you're stuck in a corridor.
You can't turn around. You can't turn around.
If they're coming through a doorway, a spear is like the best thing to have. I think the other thing to mention with spears is you would also need wings on the tip of your spear, because if a zombie if you happen to get him in the neck or in the chest,
you don't want to follow through.
He's gonna walk right up to you.
Yeah, you do not want that. So I don't know. Spears seem like a really good thing, but with a few little downsides. So what else is there? All right, hammers. Blunt force trauma. I like it.
As a nurse who's worked in orthopedics, blunt trauma is just
it does some damage.
It does a huge amount of damage. It's not what happens on the surface, it's what happens underneath.
Bones cracking,
the tears,
organs.
you can get organs fractured. Hammers in particular, it's one area I've not actually got much experience in. I've not used a war hammer before. I've not used even like the range of the closest thing I've ever used is a sledgehammer, and that is obviously quite a common tool. But
we've all got them in our garages.
They're too heavy.
They're very heavy, but you can get a lighter sledgehammer.
That's true.
We've just got heavy sledgehammers.
Serve a purpose.
Yeah.
Through that stone.
Well, yeah, I use mine for fencing, and not
what?
Not the historical kind.
The
fence posts,
yeah.
as in barriers for animals or people.
Yeah.
For fencing, it's nice to use a sledgehammer occasionally.
I don't think it'd be a particularly good weapon against zombies because it's just too slow. The only advantage is if you hit them on the swing, that zombie wouldn't be where it was to start with. It would be knocked wherever you've set it.
Even if you hit in the leg, that leg is now useless.
But a warhammer in itself, personally, I think a warhammer is quite a good idea. A two-handed type, because actually the heads on a warhammer could be quite small. Therefore, they could actually get lighter than you would expect, and they were very good at punching through things. Up against zombies, yes, it'd be probably quite effective if you keep it light enough. As a single-handed weapon, something along the same lines, one-handed hammer or a Morning Star.
Yeah.
That would also probably be, or a mace.
Mace is a good call.
A mace is scary.
If only I had a mace hanging around. Got a mace. A mace would be good.
That actually would probably be a really effective.
That pops some melons. Are we talking two-handed mace or just a single-handed?
One-handed, probably. Because a two-handed is just going to be...
It's going to be fantastic. That might be worth investing in.
Yes, a mace would probably be a very quite effective weapon to take. Obviously, there's lots of variations between the weapons we've discussed. To be honest, I think if this sort of event was to happen, it would be more of what you can get your hands on and what can you maintain.
For what I can maintain, that's something with a wooden handle, ideally. Because although metal will be better to start with and will probably last longer than a wooden handle, once it goes, it's gone. That tool's pretty much useless.
Final decision. What would you have as a primary and secondary weapon?
See, when we talk about it normally, I still go for sword, because I just like swords.
Oh,
but
we just gave this entire talk.
I know, and I can't do it. I can't go for it this time. Maybe a claw hammer, which is a normal, like builder's hammer, with the claws on the back. but maybe put a longer shaft on it.
I guess it would be fairly easy. It's a simple item to find. You can just knock the shaft out or just cut it out.
Yeah.
And then put a nice longer handle, like a tomahawk handle on it.
Yeah, something that size is just makes it a little bit more practical. Means you don't have to go so up close. I can hook with it. I can hit with it.
Light.
It's very light.
That actually, I would say, is a very, very good choice. Easy to maintain.
I like it. Yeah.
Like it. Durable.
Right. What are you going to go for?
So I was going to say mace, but now you've mentioned that, I think I'm going to have to steal your idea as well.
What?
You sold it to me. Yes, I do think it'd be a good idea. Whether a solid hammer blow like that would be enough.
I don't know. I've never cracked a man's head open before. And you know what I like about the claw hammer as well? You can use it as a pry bar. Yeah. And then because you've got this longer handle, you've got more leverage. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. I think that would be a very good choice. If not, and you've just got to go into your garage and grab something, a hatchet or something like that would be a very good choice.
I'd like a club, yeah.
A improvised hammer would be the Boar's choice of weapon for a zombie
It's got
invasion.
the Boar seal of approval.
The Boar seal of approval.